Want to know a fun fact about Amphibia? About 6 years ago today, it was one of the only shows I could watch without having heart palpitations. Let me explain. Thanks to a combination of isolation and anxiety brought on by lockdown, I experienced one of the worst panic attacks of my life that resulted in shot nerves and constant spiraling thoughts about the world. During this time, the amount of media I could enjoy to distract myself became extremely limited. Even something as small as losing a life in a Mario level set me off and gave me an existential crisis. So one place that became an unexpected source of stability and healing was cartoons. Obviously, cartoons had always been my happy place, but the reliability found within TV animation in the sense that no actual death would occur by nature of the medium and the demographic meant that I could slowly work through my issues until eventually I could function normally again. In a weird way, the fact that the show mentions death as a factor in the life of the fictional amphibian world, but knowing that Anne Sprigg and co would make it to the end of the story alive regardless was an odd sort of comfort that I could cling to. That all sounds really dramatic, doesn't it? But I was genuinely in such a fragile state of mind that it's not an exaggeration to say that Amphibia really helped me out in what was a very uncertain and fearful time in my life. And it's because of this past association that I have not only a fond appreciation for the show due to its own merit, but because for a time I relied on it substantially for my own mental well-being. I feel like I owe a lot to the media that got me through those difficult months. And for that reason, I'm more than happy to talk in this video about the works and achievements of the person responsible for this great story. Hello everyone. My name is fionapollo, and welcome to another installment of my series, Inspiring Animators, where we look at prominent creators in the animation industry, their lives and careers, their flagship works, and any current or future projects they might be working on as a means of celebrating the actual humans who bring a whole breadth of wonderful stories to life for us to enjoy. So despite my little initial monologue, I'm a bit nervous about this one. Not because of anything actually in it, but because... oh, how do I put this? Matt Brawley watches my videos, apparently, which is crazy considering everything I just said. Really burying my soul out here, you know? So as you can imagine, I've been putting this one off a bit out of worry that it might, scare him off, seeing someone do a video about his life and career, because yeah, I know that would freak me out, I don't know about anyone else, but at the same time, he's obviously, aware that he's a public figure. Everything I'm discussing today has been sourced from official news articles or interviews, or things he has said publicly, and I do try my best to be as respectful to the people covered in these videos as I can. So with that in mind, we are going to power through and just try not to think about it. Matt Brawley, as with pretty much all the people I've covered so far, is someone I deeply respect, partly because of my aforementioned gratitude to his show Amphibia during a troubled period in my life, but also because Matt, as a Thai American, is a phenomenal example of becoming the representation you want to see in the world, and being responsible for thousands, if not millions of people, gaining both an exposure and appreciation of Thai culture in Western television. It's become apparent in my research just how much this meant to him as a young child growing up between two worlds. So, if you like the sound of this one, please consider liking and subscribing, and also please check out the other videos in this series. A link to the playlist can be found in the video description. And without further ado, let's begin.
Ha! That don't scare me. After all, I'm Thai.
Matt Brawley was born in 1988 in the capital city of California, Sacramento City, before moving to live in Davis, which is situated in the Sacramento Valley. Sacramento at large has a bit of an interesting history, but Davis in particular was originally home to several indigenous populations, including several branches of the Winton people who inhabited much of Northern California. Nowadays, Davis appears to have quite a rich art scene, most of which is located on the campus of the local University of California, Davis, which also appears to be the town's largest employer. These include the Manetti Shrem Museum of Art, the Davis Transmedia Art Walk, which is a free, self-guided public art tour that includes 23 public murals, 16 sculptures, and 15 galleries and museums, and the Mondavi Center, a theatre which has hosted a plethora of world-class acts and star performers. But coming back to Matt, while he grew up and lived in sunny California, in the summertime he would also travel with his mother to Bangkok, the vibrant, thriving capital city of Thailand, with its historic temples, amazing food, and stunning culture. Even though it shares many similarities with other big metropolitan cities, Bangkok is a beautiful place that looks and feels unlike anywhere else in the world. Being Thai American, Matt has mentioned in interviews that he felt like a bit of an outsider in the sense that when visiting Thailand, he didn't feel like he fully belonged, but also that he didn't want to leave. But in the US, he found there was precious little depiction of Thai culture or Thai individuals in Western media that he could relate to. Because of this, he became taken with any kind of representation he could find. One such instance being the Mortal Kombat film, which utilized several Buddhist temples located on various Thai islands during shooting. Matt also found a wealth of inspiration in various other video games, games he grew up with as well, including Sonic the Hedgehog and Legend of Zelda. When we look at Matt's flagship work in a later section, it definitely becomes clear just how far that inspiration goes. Zelda's dungeon puzzles, in particular, are an obvious source of inspiration in Matt's works, as well as the triplicate nature of the three goddesses in the games and the powers they bestow upon the player. Sonic the Hedgehog was also a long-time favourite franchise for Matt, as he remarks that at one time he was a sick kid who spent a few weeks in the hospital. His dad brought him a Sega Game Gear with Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble for him to play, and even though he was confined to the hospital room, playing Sonic games made him feel like he was still able to run around and have adventures. Matt attended the Christian Brothers High School in Davis, a Catholic pre-preparatory school where he happened to be in the same year group as his future spouse, Catherine Bedrosian, a software engineer. During a careers day, just before graduation, one of the guests who came in to speak to students included a Pixar animator who spoke about how he animated for a living, even going so far as to draw Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast from memory to inspire them. And, well, it certainly worked on someone. One 18-year-old Matt Brawley's interest had clearly been piqued, because this Pixar animator was then able to divulge that a good place to go if this was something he wanted to pursue would be the eponymous CalArts School, and that's exactly what he did. Thankfully, he was already living in California and was able to apply without much upheaval, and so after graduation in 2007, Matt Brawley went to study at CalArts and graduated in 2010 with a bachelor's degree in fine arts. So, despite looking around, I actually couldn't find reference to Matt Brawley's student films anywhere, so unfortunately I can't really discuss them like I have with other animators I've covered. But that's okay, because that just means we can leap ahead to around 2010 to 2012 for his first animation job following graduation, in which he worked as a storyboard artist for DreamWorks Animation on the feature film Turbo, a film about a garden snail who gains super speed and pursues his dream of racing. But that said, when he arrived, it became apparent that he felt a bit too impatient when it came to how long it took to make movies. As quoted in the article The Wonders of Animation, talking to Matt Brawley of Amphibia, it often takes about 4 years to make one animated feature. As someone who was just starting out as a storyboard artist, I just felt like I didn't have much work to do and I didn't feel very challenged. Luckily, during his time on Turbo, he and a bunch of other DreamWorks storyboard artists had gotten wind of an interesting story idea brewing over at Disney TV Animation, and so they went to visit none other than Alex Hirsch, who at the time was developing Gravity Falls. Matt was immediately impressed at the prospect of a mystery sitcom adventure that incorporated an overarching plot within an episodic format, and was also doubly keen as Alex happened to be an upperclassman at CalArts whose films Matt both watched and enjoyed. During their visit, Alex pitched Gravity Falls to the boarders and was interested in them doing a storyboard test to join the show's production. And after submitting his own test, Matt was brought aboard onto the show. In fact, it was thanks to Matt Brawley that the episode Northwest Mansion Mystery won an Annie Award for Outstanding Achievement directing in an animated TV/broadcast production in 2016. He's regaled that much of what he learned about storytelling, world building, and character development came straight from working on Gravity Falls, moving from a storyboard artist in the first season and then to a director in the second, and receiving much encouragement from Alex, who became both a good friend and a great mentor. Alex also happened to be the one responsible for giving Matt the idea to create his own show, which Matt originally didn't seem too fussed about, as he had stated in some interviews that he was very happy to be a regular worker. And obviously, I can't speak to the experience of working with Alex directly, but from what I read last time regarding how much he spoke highly of the people around him and encouraged them to test the limit of what they think they could achieve, Alex is a pretty damn good motivator, and if he says you can do something, it seems to me like he can make you feel pretty inclined to the idea. And so, while he worked on Gravity Falls, as well as other projects throughout the years, including boards for some early episodes of Steven Universe in 2014, and directing on Big City Greens over at Cartoon Network in 2016, Matt would begin developing the concept for his own show in the background. And what show could that be?
Trust me, Mrs. Croker, animals love me.
Oh man, he looks upset.
In 2015, Matt pitched the first iteration of Amphibia to Disney, known at the time as Amphibiland. The pitch pilot, which can be viewed online, is only a couple minutes long, but effectively tells us everything we need to know about what kind of show this would be. 3 girls are mysteriously transported into a world populated entirely by frogs and other amphibians, and our protagonist, Anne, befriends a frog family who help her to learn more about the world in an effort to find her friends. Despite its short length, it clearly sets out the premise and is able to give insight into what the standalone story beats could include, while still hinting at a larger story in the same way that Gravity Falls did. Also, the use of the song Rather Be by Clean Bandit is a surprisingly killer choice, as the song had this very upbeat, down-for-anything vibe that works incredibly well alongside Anne's monologue as she notes down her thoughts of Amphibiland while acknowledging that she hopes to find her friends. So I'm quite involved with covering the indie animation scene, and there's been a lot of contention lately about pilots and how perfect they have to be, and what's the difference between a pilot and episode 1, and so forth. But honestly, this to me feels like one of the best examples of how a pilot doesn't have to be anything other than a snapshot of what you want out of your project. And I really hope that's something people can learn to take away from it and others like it, because it still managed to get the show greenlit for production at Disney of all places, which is known for its high standards. And in 2019, it aired on Disney Channel under the new name Amphibia. So I think it's only fair that we first talk about the setting and the protagonist, Anne Boone Choi. Anne is a regular Thai American girl from California who is transported to Amphibia with her two friends Sasha and Marcy, but unfortunately in the process they've become separated. Anne finds herself in the outskirts of a small farm village community populated entirely by humanoid frogs, and thereby befriends Sprig Planter, one of the residents, and after helping to save the townspeople from a monstrously sized praying mantis, is permitted to live with Sprig, his tadpole sister Polly, and their grandfather Hop Pop for the time being until she can earn the trust of the townspeople, as well as learn a bit more about this mysterious world and where to look for her friends. The premise of a Thai-American kid being thrust into a world they don't entirely understand but come to love and appreciate is very clearly inspired directly by Matt's own experiences during those trips with his mother to Bangkok during his childhood. And thanks to Anne having that Thai lineage, it made both her and the show at large into a pillar of representation for Thai-Americans in Western media, and harks back again to his childhood of clinging to franchises like Mortal Kombat that had any kind of tangential connection to Thai culture. One very interesting bit of inspo he mentioned when doing an interview with Man Lightfoot on the channel Sit Down and Think was the first episode of Sonic X, and how it was almost a perfect example of a main character being thrust into another world. And honestly, as someone who grew up watching Sonic X, I can attest to this. Other elements of that show may not have been great, the main human character Chris was kind of a wet lettuce, but the first episode was amazingly well done. But in addition to it being a very good callback to a much-loved video game franchise, it also became a very solid basis for the world building that Matt utilised for the story. He also cites The Legend of Zelda and Chrono Trigger as the two other big video game inspirations for the series. The crew actually got to create an 8-bit video game version of the intro song during Disney's theme song Takeover, which was inspired by Chrono Trigger's gameplay, and is really cool to look at. We already mentioned Zelda previously with its dungeon puzzles and the triple goddesses, but this actually wound up being very obvious when we look at Anne, Sasha, and Marcy as a unit. They even have the same colours as Din, Nehru, and Faror from the games, and embody the three qualities of power, wisdom, and courage derived from the Triforce. You know, the more I talk about it, Zelda really has inspired a fair few Western animators, because Rebecca Sugar and Dana Terrace also mention it as an inspiration in their shows. That's pretty neat, to be honest. And this triangular nature of the show carried over in several forms. For example, we obviously have the three main human girls, Anne, Sasha, and Marcy, all representing a different virtue as the show's more fantastical themes outside of just the Amphibia setting are revealed. Anne very clearly represents the courage aspect of these virtues, being willing to not only rescue Sprig after just meeting him, but putting herself in the way of danger over and over again to help others made her a fitting, if at first an unwilling hero who wants to save her friends and see her parents again no matter the cost. It also makes sense in this respect that she is associated with the frogs in the universe, a smaller, more grassroots-oriented, but nonetheless plucky race of amphibians who stand up for each other and face obstacles head-on. Then we have Sasha, the more assertive of the three, who in the beginning was discovered and captured by the toads, a larger, hulking and intimidating species who are heavily militarized. Sasha represents the virtue of power, as she was not only able to command respect from Captain Grime, leader of the Toad Army, but she was also made second in command and managed to mobilize them. That said, Sasha also had a pretty extensive redemption arc within the series, as it was revealed that she was the de facto leader of the group who more or less bullied Anne into doing what she wanted. Following a climactic battle with Anne in the season 1 finale, to then wanting to seek out vengeance, to then coming to terms with her own actions and seeking to change and then helping Anne by the end of the second season, Sasha was able to embody the different common interpretations of power, from physical to mental and finally emotional, before being able to reunite with her friends on common ground. Now, Marcy is where it gets interesting. As with Sasha, we were made aware right away in episode 1 that she had been captured by toads, but Marcy's fate had remained a mystery up until about halfway through season 2, where it was revealed that she had been flourishing in Newtopia as the king's advisor and a city ranger. Marcy represents the virtue of wisdom, and is shown to be incredibly intelligent, but also insanely clumsy and naive at the same time. She is completely taken in by the excitement and splendor of her new surroundings that allow her to flourish and become a more exuberant individual. However, this also makes her blind to the dangers of it, and this certainly comes back to bite her during the season 2 climax. She also aligns very well with the third species in the world, the newts, who in a way are much more advanced than the frogs or the toads. However, that perceived progressivism also makes them a little bit more holier than thou, and it can make them a little bit blind to what's around them. But even outside of the three main girls, all the characters have their own distinctive qualities and quirks that make them all so memorable. Sprig is the emotional glue that holds Anne and her newfound family unit together. Hop-Hop provides both the comedy and the parental wisdom they need to push forth. Polly is a spunky little kid who is up for anything. Grime is a battle-hardened militant with a surprising soft side, and the list just goes on and on and on. And what I also really love about the show when we look at some of these interviews and talks Matt Brawley has done is when you notice some of the smaller details that play into his real life that are depicted in the show as well. The Boone Choi family have a little tuxedo cat called Domino, who is both inspired by and named after Matt and his partner's real-life cat Domino, which is just adorable. The two also happen to be fans of RuPaul's Drag Race. And in season 3, when Anne and the Planters are transported to Earth, Mr. X, a government agent who is trailing Anne and the Planters, is not only visually inspired by Ru, he's also voiced by him. Like, listen, if you're gonna have a show that depicts a whole bunch of Thai representation, then it makes sense to also include references to drag, since Thailand is considered one of the most queer-friendly countries in the world, right? I think my only big critique of the show, if we're being completely honest, is that I wish we had a couple more hints at Marcy's circumstances prior to her introduction, similar to what we got for Sasha. While I think her introduction was brilliant and she was a very fun character, I can't help but feel that in terms of showing both Anne and Sasha having an adjustment period, the show felt ever so slightly lopsided in favour of those two. And even though Marcy was clearly very at home in Newtopia by the time we meet her, I think having at least a couple of mysterious/ambiguous clips sprinkled in of her carrying out various tasks for King Andreas would have gone a long way. But that said, I think the 3-season structure was the perfect amount of time for the story Amphibia was meant to tell, and it also complemented that triplicate nature as well. It was a truly great series, and the series was very well received by audience and critics alike, with many people praising its ability to depict themes of bullying and emotional manipulation that kids can empathise with. It's a Disney Channel classic for sure, and I really hope that many more kids in the future will be able to immerse themselves in this wonderful world.
Hit it, Jenners.
Okay, so here we are again, and the good thing about this installment is that Matt Brawley has actually done a couple of Learn to Draw videos for the official Disney Channel Animation YouTube channel, so we're going to use those as like a basis for learning how to draw like Matt Brawley in his style. So let's see how that goes. So we're first going to start off by looking at Anne, I think. And what's fun about Anne is that Matt himself in these videos refers to her as like a lollipop style character design, which is quite interesting. So let's give this a try. So first thing he does is add a couple of eyes. There you go. Mine are probably going to look a little bit goofy because I'm kind of drawing through a couple of obstacles. Let me just move this camera away. Wow, she looks a little bit unhinged here. Jeez, that's terrifying. Do a big head. I'm basically like copying this one for one with what I'm seeing on the screen of what Matt is drawing. Here we go. Give her her wild hairstyle, which is apparently inspired by a photo he saw of his grandmother from when she was a kid, which is really, really cool. Okay. And then we do a shoulder. Oh, sorry, she doesn't have any like... It's a very sloped shoulder. No angular thingies here. And then we make her very bean Polish. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. And then... Oh, I made... Oh, this is not going well at all. I made her hands, like, malformed. It's fine. We're gonna do another pass at this. This is just, like, the very, very beginner, like, sketch. Just copying what I'm seeing on the screen. And then we'll do, like, my own without, like, doing that, basically. So, And then it's her left foot that doesn't have... Oh, it's her left foot that does have a shoe, sorry. There we go. And then she has a couple of twigs and leaves in her hair. Okay. And that's my first version of Anne, which isn't great. But you know what, that's fine, because this is the very, very first pass. We're going to do a couple more, and then we're going to move on to drawing a couple of other characters, and then we're going to move on to introducing my characters into this style. So that's how we're going to do it. So let's try again. I'm going to do this my way now. So So you know how I mentioned a while ago back in the Dana Terrace video how each cartoonist, there are only two types of cartoonists and artists and such. There are people who draw the eyes as ovals and people who draw the eyes as spheres. So this is obviously a sphere situation. There we go. There we go. That's without. And then her hands are kind of, there we go. And the Amphibia style actually has 4 fingers, which is good. There we go. Alright, that's a little more, that looks a little bit more accurate to what we see in the show. A little bit. There we go. That's not too bad. Oh man. Why don't we try looking at one of the frog characters? Let's try Sprig. So, again, we got some circular eyes, and they are a lot closer together than they are for Anne.
Hey, come here and listen to this real quick.
There we go. Give him a big old dimply smile, because he's always like super sweet and happy. So the frogs actually just have the 3 fingers, whereas the humans have 4. Obviously not including the thumb. Let's do his little goggles, which I think are my favourite little like thing about him. I love a character with goggles. I just think they're adorable. Kind of wish I utilised that design more in my own stuff, but it never really tends to fit in the stories that I do. Maybe I should make one where it does. So yeah, the main difference with the anatomy of the frogs versus Anne is that their bodies are a lot shorter, their heads are a lot bigger in proportion, and their limbs are a lot longer. So Sprig actually has quite long legs and huge feet. There we go. Just include the little buttons. There we go. There's a little Spriggy. Little Spriggy boy. Why don't we go for an easy one? Let's do Polly next. So Polly starts the series as a tadpole, and then towards the end, I think it's during the season 2 climax, she actually grows legs. But we're just going to keep her as a tadpole because the tadpole tail is really, really adorable. Even though Polly is very much like this very rough and tumble kind of character. She also has this cute little polka dot bow. And she has a couple little eyelashes. And there we go, that's Polly. Very, very simple, very cute. There she is. And finally, let's do Hop Hop. Let's do this. So he is a lot more squared. He's got a couple of pruny lips. There you go. Big circular eyes again. Then he's got a little bit of crow's feet, a teeny liver spot, some hair tufts, and then another one here. My Hop Hop looks a little bit deranged, but you know what? That's fine. I like deranged old people. They're hilarious. My granddad, before he passed away a couple of years ago in 2022, he had a habit of just randomly bursting into song while he was sitting in his care home when we came to visit. He was a very happy soul. He just liked having company, and he liked music, he liked brass bands, and I feel like if he was a fan of cartoons, Hop Pop would be the kind of character that he would really, really like, because I think he could probably relate to him. They're very similar in personality. Add his lapels there. Hop Pop's feet with his little, I don't know what they're called, but you know, the old-timey like foot things, kind of reminds me of bird feet. Kind of makes me think he should be like a crow or something. There we go. There's no details I'm missing, nope. There we go. That kind of works, right? I guess, yeah, let's switch our pencil colours and let's take a crack at drawing Mint in this style. So humans also have a characteristic where their eyes aren't connected like the amphibians are, which is good. They don't seem to have eyebrows, or at least Anne doesn't, because obviously she's got a fringe that kind of obstructs them. And let's do this. Luckily, like Anne, Mint is a very beanpole-y kind of character, so they're very similar in appearance. They also kind of have the same outfit as well, like a shirt-skirt combo, so thankfully it doesn't really complicate things. Not the best attempt, but you know what, it'll do. She looks incredibly silly, which I kind of love. I love when characters look a little weird in other styles. If they look too perfect, then it'd just kind of, I don't know, be a little off-putting. But that, I think, works. You can't really see it much. Let's line it a little and see how it looks up. Only very roughly. We're not aiming for, like, you know, amazing here. We got shit to do. Also, it's like in the mid-20s in like my house right now in the evening, and I don't want to do this any longer than I have to because I'm already sweating, so I want to wrap this up. Oh god. Oh no. That's too many circles. Mint looks like she's seen the horrors of the universe, which, to be honest, after the season 2 finale and King Andreas and everything like that, that's probably not far off. If she was in the world of Amphibia. Yeah, there we go. Wow. I'd say that's pretty close, wouldn't you? I don't think that's terrible. I genuinely don't. I think that looks okay. But yeah, what do you guys think? After Amphibia's production was wrapped up, Matt Brawley left Disney TVA in mid-2022, and a year later, in August, as part of the Sonic Fast Friends Forever campaign, which was a campaign headed by Sega to celebrate the Sonic fanbase, Matt drew a comic strip titled Flight Envy, which was one of multiple 4-page strips created for the campaign drawn by many fantastic and noteworthy artists, including fellow animator and showrunner of OKKO, Ian Jones-Quartey. Following a Q&A with him in relation to the campaign, Matt Brawley also mentioned he was working on multiple projects, one of which included a feature film. And it was only this year, in February 2026, that we found out that Matt had been working on a tie-inspired feature film alongside Rebecca Sugar for Sony Pictures Animation. The story was again largely inspired by his own life experiences and follows a young boy who is transported to a world filled with Thai spirits before undergoing an important, life-changing surgery. The film's concept art is nothing short of breathtaking. Every single character is rendered beautifully, and the designs make you so intrigued to learn as much as we can about them. But unfortunately, it seems that Sony thought otherwise, as the only reason we found out about this lovely film was because Matt came onto social media and informed people that the film had been scrapped in 2025. Apparently, Sony didn't believe the film had enough commercial appeal to continue with production, which I am so sick to the back teeth of hearing from these dickheads who don't care about anything except their own greed and who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, deciding that they can waste a creative person's time and whittle away their spirit all because they're working on a film that might speak louder to a specific group of people rather than cover as large a demographic pool as possible. It's infuriating, considering all the other kinds of films Sony in particular has been putting out, from Spider-Verse to Goat to K-pop Demon Hunters, which they also didn't believe had commercial appeal and sold off to Netflix, only for it to become one of the most watched films on the platform, win a Golden Globe and multiple Annies. Whoever's sitting in the big boy chair over there needs a head wobble, I swear to God. Sorry, this is just something I've grown to be very irrationally angry about because I love watching films that are vastly different to anything I've seen before, and it kills me that people who don't understand anything about art get to have the final say on what stories deserve to be shared with the wider world. Money should never have been made so integral in the world of human expression. Luckily though, that wasn't the end for this film. In May 2026, Matt made another announcement letting us know that the film's rights had been acquired by a Thai-based studio called The Monk Studios, who want to produce the film, which is called Afterworld. That said, Matt has confirmed that he has stepped down as director in order to focus on another project. And that project is one that I've mentioned previously on this channel, but I haven't had the chance to properly delve into. So I'm really happy to be able to talk about it now. Alongside the revelation in February concerning Afterworld, Matt Brawley also announced that he was putting together his own animation studio called Fantasy Projects, and that he would be stepping into the indie animation space with his own project titled Clara and the Below. The project is an episodic gothic horror retelling of The Nutcracker. Clara, the daughter of an ex-military man bedridden with a mysterious illness, must traverse through an ominous realm under her home known as the Below, where she battles the ghosts of soldiers her father had already slain, while being guided by a Nutcracker toy that represents her childhood innocence. Oh, and this Nutcracker toy is voiced by Alex Hirsch. Matt Brawley organised a Kickstarter to fund the show, which went live on the 17th of March 2026. And not only did it get funded in less than 15 minutes, but it also earned over 10 times the amount of the original $25,000 goal. This means that at least 3 full episodes can be produced, and the beginning of Clara's story will reportedly be shared in December 2026. I'm incredibly excited for this, and will be very much looking forward to the show coming out. All in all, I think Matt Brawley's journey in the industry has been an incredible show of hard work and persistence. It's also a great way to show how you can reshape the way people become exposed to something for the first time, be it a form of representation, a new concept, or something else, and that the people who care about what you do will be your strongest advocates, which I personally found to be very encouraging throughout my research. I'm incredibly glad and grateful for the works that Matt Brawley has put out. He's nothing short of inspirational, and I'm truly happy to have finally gotten the chance to cover him in this series. With all of that said, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this installment of Inspiring Animators. As I mentioned in the previous one, while people have been requesting the big 3 Disney showrunners for some time now that they're all covered, I want to move away from American animation for a bit and focus on other people who are becoming pillars of the industry in other parts of the world. And I'm happy to say that I think I know exactly where we'll be going next. Before that though, just to let you all know, I'll be taking a break in August from uploading long-form videos because, well, first off, I'm exhausted. It's been kind of an insane year. A bunch of my friends and loved ones have been landing in hospital. UK politics is just completely nuts at the moment, which is causing no shortage of chaos. But also, on a lighter note, I'm using August to work properly on my Mint and Friends shorts and get a whole bunch of work done for them, as well as another big video project that's been in the works for almost a year now, so wish me luck! With all of that said, I hope you all take care until the next one. Thank you as always to my wonderful Patreon supporters. Thank you to my YouTube peeps, Manuel Lagzon Gonzalez, Mystic Mind, Lauren R, Ash Valentine, Lonim the Hare, I Am Nail Smith, Craig, Edboy, Pedanti Cat, Steph Goes Doodles, Why Not Warrior, and Tai Shan. And an extra special thank you to my indie production supporters, Morgan LaFade Thin, Matty A, Kiyoshi, Roundcat, Arsonist, and Nomad Bob. If you're interested in joining the Patreon, a link can be found in the video description. Stay safe everyone, and I will speak to you all again very soon. Bye!